Welcome to all those that are here and also those that are watching on YouTube. I am Gary Hallen. I'm the Assistant City Manager with the City of Bakersfield. Appreciate all those that are in person and also those that are watching us. Today is our city budget public workshop. We've had several of these so far, but today we're doing this as a hybrid, both online and in person. So we're grateful for those that are here and for those that are watching. I'm gonna run through a very quick agenda of what we're covering, almost more educational than it is anything else, but we do want some feedback. And so you'll see on this agenda that we're gonna get to that feedback. It's very informal. Even though we are in the council chambers, we're not going to use a formal process. So we'll just be calling on folks as they have questions as we get to those spots. So I will cover our city governance slides, our operational summary, and then I have with me Mr. Randy McKeegan, our finance director, and he will cover our budget outlook. And again, we'll get to public feedback and questions. We will have an online survey that is available for quite some time. So if you fill it out here during this workshop or even after, we want your feedback. We want that input of where do you want to see the city spend its private resources and scarce resources. So first discussion is about how are we governed, or what's the city governance? And I'll get all of our city council members and our mayor up on the screen there. So we do have 7 city council members. Many of you know them. They represent the wards and areas in which they are elected. We also have a mayor, and the city council members and the mayor are both elected for a 4-year term. Each of those terms are staggered. The goal and the mission of the city council is to provide that policy direction, and they also approve all of our major budget actions. Those 7 members who are city council members, they're the only people that can hire 2 people in the city. They hire our city manager and they hire our city attorney. That's a major role because the city manager and the city attorney hire everybody else in the city. So in terms of the council manager style or system of governance, that's where they hire a city manager. We'll call them the CEO of the city, like a company, and they are the board, right? The board of directors that has that city manager run the city like a business, and they do a great job. I'm often impressed with the amount of information that they process and be able to filter back through, and they represent you as residents and constituents. Our mayor does a great job of representing us in many different ways. She represents us in the community. She represents us legislatively in providing advocacy. She goes to Washington, D.C., Sacramento, representing us really well, and she does a great job of opening doors for us, and I've seen that of late. These are our city council goals. These are goals that city council has adopted, and each of these goals, all 5 of them, represent something that when we bring an action as staff to the city council, whatever that action that we're asking for them to approve, it needs to fall into one of these 5 initiatives, one of these 5 goals. So whether it's safety, whether it's infrastructure, having that be resilient and reliable, whether it's having a better community character or quality of life, or an economic opportunity for all, or being efficient and effective with our resources, all of our actions at the city need to align to these goals, and we do. This next section is our guiding principles, or how the city staff carries out those higher level goals and objectives that the city council has laid before us. So our actions as city staff is we try in everything that we do to collaborate and to build those bridges, to work with the community, to be accountable, to be resourceful, to strive for excellence, and to take pride in what we do, and to make sure it is the very, very best thing we can do with our very limited resources. These are our 11 departments. So as I mentioned, city manager, city attorney, they're hired by our city council, and then the city manager oversees, along with the city attorney, all of the rest of the departments. So these are the other 2,000 city employees that work in each of these departments. And sometimes we only see maybe those public-facing departments, whether it's police or fire or public works or our parks, maybe it's water or development services. We see those services be provided to each of the city residents, but you don't often see some of the internal service departments, whether it's our finance department, our human resources department, our technology services department, and then you'll see the list of other divisions, whether it's our city clerk or other divisions within the city managers. Those are important too, because these other public-facing departments can't run without the inner workings, the internal departments that are behind the scenes. They're working really hard to make sure that everybody in the city is being serviced by the services that we have. Lastly, it's our organizational chart. What I love about this organizational chart is you'll see at the very top, it says our residents. We all report back to you all as residents. The residents elect our city council, they elect the mayor, and from there, we work for you. So we've got those 11 departments underneath the city manager's office. We have the city attorney and others. So I am actually going to pause there before I turn it over to Mr. McKeegan. If there's any questions on how we operate, how we govern, there's the governance, which is the governing aspect of what goes on, policy, direction, vision by our city council. And then there's actually implementation and operations, and that's what staff is here to do. I do not see any questions. Are there any questions online? Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Gary.
You bet.
Randy McKeegan, I'm the finance director for the city. I've been this finance director for 6 years now. I've been with the city for 20. I have almost 30 years of experience in governmental accounting. So I am going to probably spend a little bit of time sort of nerding out on government accounting. That's my thing. So what we're going to do is going to go through the budget of the current year and really give you some deep dive into some of the aspects of it. So what you see here is the budget for 2026. The total budget on the left, the first column, of $852 million. That is the total budget, includes capital improvement projects of about $100 million. And what the second number, the third column, I should say, is the general fund. And what the difference is the general fund is our discretionary operational fund. And so what you see there is a $427 million budget for the general fund in comparison to $852 million. So there's a difference there. And the difference is really non-discretionary dollars. So what you see, for example, just to give you some background, the Water Resources Department, $127 million, they are an enterprise fund. So they must be covered by their fees. All their operational expenses have to be covered by the fees that are paid for both water services and wastewater services. They do not receive general fund dollars, but they are a city operation. So $127 million, no general fund resources. In addition to that, there are other sources of funds. We have grant funds called special revenue funds. Those have to be used for specific grants. So we have a large amount, about over $100 million is used from the housing and urban development, for example. We have capital improvement projects. Those funds have to be used for capital projects. We also have other enterprise operations. So for example, solid waste, which is in the Public Works Department. They have to be covered by the fees that they collect from their residents to cover their operations. So those types of budgetary demands can only be drawn from those additional sources. And then that moves into the general fund. So the general fund is our discretionary sources of funds. And when you look at the general fund, over $200 million of the general fund goes to police. And when you look at fire, it's $71 million. Close to 65% of the total budget of the general fund, of our discretionary dollars, are going to public safety concerns. So again, that's discretionary dollars compared to dollars that have to be spent on specific types of programs. And this is a graphical representation of what we just saw. Over 65%, that orange and green bar, or I should say piece of pie, are public safety, and the rest is split between public works, recreation and parks, development services at 10%, and those general government departments that Gary mentioned, that internal services, human resources, finance, technology services. That's in that blue section of 7%. So we're going to move forward now and just look at our outlook for what we're seeing for next fiscal year, 26-27, looking at revenues and really looking at our expenditure increases that we're foreseeing, what we're forecasting into next fiscal year. So we'll start by looking at the general fund revenues. And this is our current estimate of revenues for the general fund. It shows the actual for 24-25. It gives us the estimates for this year and then what we anticipate to receive for next fiscal year. And as you see, those first three lines are taxes. The majority of the general fund is covered by taxes. Three main sources: property taxes at 30%, and we have two sales tax sources, the standard Bradley Burns, and we also have the PSVS that was voted in 2018, about 22% each. So again, 3/4 of our revenue for the general fund come from taxes. We also have other resources, charges for services, for example, another large pot of money. That relates to charges that we charge for permits, for example, from development services, or recreation parks for park reservations, for example. That is included in that $33.8 million there that you see for charges for services. Again, total budget estimated at this time when we prepared these presentations was $438 million. in the general fund, compared to $429 million in this current fiscal year. So what you see there is we estimated about a $9 million increase in revenue between this year and next. And we'll come back to that and kind of touch on that in a second. Again, this is a graphical representation of that general fund revenue. 3/4 of the blue, the red, and the orange pieces of that pie show the majority of our revenue comes from taxes, property taxes, and sales tax. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those major resources of revenue. First is property tax. I don't want to get too much into the weeds on this, but again, what you see here is the blue bars are the actual revenue we've received over the last 15 years, and that orange bar is what we expect our revenue to be next year. It's $127 million. What you see there in the purple lines is the percent increase, and what that shows us is that property tax tends to increase annually. That bar graph shows that every year we're seeing it's a pretty reliable source of revenue that goes up pretty consistently based on the assessed valuations of property within the city, whether it be businesses or residences. So again, we rely on that source of revenue, and we continue to see it as an increase. As you see the history there, the 15 years, I think 1 year it did go down back in 2012. So going forward, though, when we look at sales tax revenue, it is not as consistent of an increasing revenue stream. It goes up and down based on available funds for our residents. So if you know, sales tax is based on certain sales. 1% of that money comes to us through Bradley Burns, and another 1% through PSVS. So that green bar is the ups and downs of that particular revenue stream. We've seen some big increases and some decreases over the years, again, based on the availability of funds, what individual residents can spend their money on. And what we see there for Bradley Burns, which is a standard 1%, $99 million, or less than 2% increase in revenue for that particular revenue stream. Similar to that, we have the PSVS tax. That sales tax, again, initiated in 2018. We started collecting it in 2019. We've seen some significant increases there, but it's also slowed down over the last couple of years. One of the nuances here, when you look at that increase compared to the Bradley Burns, is one of the challenges we've seen with PSVS is that there were a number of erroneous tax filers. Certain businesses were reporting PSVS dollars as belonging to the city when they actually belong to the county. So they also enacted a vital services tax. And so what was happening is certain businesses were reporting that income to the city, and we were collecting it through the state, and it was actually owed to the county. So what the state has had to do is about $3 million in the current fiscal year is coming off the top and being returned by the state to the county it was not just this year, but a number of years. I think it goes back to 2021, where we've seen the amounts, we've seen notices from the state saying that these amounts did not belong to you and we are going to take those funds from you. So what we had here this fiscal year, that's why it's $95 million. A good portion of that reduction is because they are drawing those funds from us and returning them to the county. So what you see there, those errors have slowed down. They still are occurring, though. Honestly, just received a notification, a local business erroneously reported $1 million of tax over the last couple of years. That's going to come off the top of our revenue, and it's going to go to the county. So we have to be aware of these and watch those notifications. We have a good sales tax analysis team, an outside consultant that looks at both those types of activity and sales activity, which we'll look at in a minute. We do expect an increase this year, especially when you compare to the reduced amount, the discounted, if you want to call it, amount from this year. So we're increasing from last year about 4% to another $99 million. Here is the industry clusters of really what drive our sales tax. The largest ones are autos and transportation and general consumer goods. So autos and transportation, obviously when people buy vehicles, it's a large purchase. It has a large tax that is charged on those. We see that we had some pretty good numbers back in 2022, but that has dropped significantly down to about $19 million this fiscal year. General consumer goods, that's big box stores, department stores, Walmarts, Targets, those types of things. So those two are our major industries, the drivers of our revenue. You see the only one that really is consistently going up over the last 5 years here is restaurants and hotels, and primarily that's restaurants. Local residents like to eat out, and they continue to eat out. So that's not a big number in comparison to the autos and the general consumer goods, but that is the only one that's consistently going up. You also see on the far right a county pool. So that is primarily related to internet sales. So if an individual buys something online from an online retailer, and it's something that's sold from out of state or out of the county, it is actually, and it's shipped into the city of Bakersfield, that is put into a pool, actually shipped into the county. It's put into a pool and distributed to all the cities within the county based on sales tax numbers. So the main driver of that county pool is internet sales, and it has gone up somewhat significantly from last year, actually. Again, internet sales. It can also be certain large manufactured. If there's a large solar project, for example, and then those materials are purchased out of state, it goes into the pool and is distributed to all the city organizations, municipalities. That same chart, again, for PSVS, same industry clusters, same major industry drivers for our revenue, again, autos and transportation and consumer goods. It doesn't have a county pool because there is a differentiation between that tax. This tax is based on the location of the purchaser versus the location of the business. So if an individual, for example, buys a vehicle from Los Angeles, that dealership gets 1%, and that county or that city gets 1%, but the actual PSVS 1% is sent to us. So that is a slight differentiation between PSVS and the Bradley Burns. And now we're going to look at general fund expenses. This is really just looking at the major drivers of our increases for next fiscal year, what we expect to, how we are going to cover our costs, and what we expect the escalations to be. So these are really six major areas that we expect large increases. So you see wages and other pay expected to increase by almost $8.7 million just in the general fund. Primarily related to, there's a cost of living adjustments, and in addition to that, there are just escalations in general costs. There's individual employees that they have step increases, as they're called, every year. In addition to that, we have a large increase in pension costs. City is a participant in CalPERS, and CalPERS actuarials determine how much we are needing to pay them every year. $5.3 million increase in the general fund in pension costs. Workers' comp insurance. We are self-insured, and we have to pay these workers' comp claims. Also related to liability and property insurance. So we've seen significant increases in those areas. Large claims are coming through on both liability and workers' comp, and we expect that, based on an actuarial study, that we will have a $2.8 million increase in workers' comp insurance. Fleet costs, equipment costs, those are expected to go up by almost $4.6 million. Again, that's the cost of replacing equipment, whether it be vehicles or computers. It's primarily vehicles is the main cost driver, and just an annual cost of maintenance of those particular vehicles. Again, $4.6 million increase. Obviously, utilities go up every year. It just is, everyone sees that in our home budgets as well. So basically $900,000. So we see here, based on these drivers, a $23 million increase in expenditures. Think back at the previous slide we talked about, the revenue increases. It was $9 million. So something has to be done to close that gap. And so what we are doing, and we've moved forward with plans to close that gap. We're talking about a huge delta between our expenditure increases and our revenue increases. So certain areas have to be reduced. So we've moved forward with a plan. It was presented to council about a month ago, and it's in the presentation if you want to pull that one up. It has specific departments. They're reducing their vacant positions to get us to close that gap. It's about $9 million in vacant positions that are being eliminated this next fiscal year to help close the gap. In addition to that, we're also reducing certain operational costs that are discretionary. Contributions to outside agencies is going down about $1 million. But the major source of the reduction is coming from reducing vacant positions in all departments across the city. With that, I'm available for questions, and also Gary is. So if we have any questions, then we'll take the poll. But I want to, if there's any questions online or from the audience, please shout out.
Yes, and if you have questions here, we do want to get you on the mic so that the people on YouTube can hear your question. So, question? Yeah, sure.
So I was hoping we could look into spay and neuter, mobile spay and neuter for the budget. In today's age, more people are getting pets. The community is growing at all times, and you know that means there's going to be more pets, and we're going to need a new shelter one day to adjust to the population. But we could invest in mobile spay and neuter right now, and we won't have to go down that road of you guys having to get more employees. You guys can save money now. It costs more money to house these animals than it would for us to get out there and do high targeted mobile spay and neuter, where we're pulling up in these neighborhoods and educating these people at the same time. So I really, you know, with the community constantly growing, we are going to see more bite cases. We're going to see more animal control. So we really need to invest into spay and neuter for the future of this community.
Well, what I will say is that I know that that is one of the discretionary dollars that the council is looking at. I think that there is a number on the council that have that same vision as you, and they're looking to find the dollars to help fund those. It's just about priorities, and I don't get enmeshed it fully in that, but I know that that is a priority that they're looking at and trying to understand. So what's going to happen, and maybe Gary could speak to some of the specifics, but what's going to happen is we are going to be finalizing the budget this next couple of weeks. We're having workshops this Monday and the 2 weeks following to really lay out what the departments are preparing or proposing. But in addition to that, there's going to be a discretionary source of funds that council will have the ability to carve up, if you want to call it that, to determine how they want to. Are there certain capital projects? Are there these types of spay and neuter programs? There's also some discussion about subsidies related to the sewer rates. So those types of things are going to be put on the council's agenda, so to speak, to really say, you have this much discretionary dollars, how do you want to carve it up? And that's included in one of those potential funding programs.
That's all I was going to mention is that, as Randy had talked about, there's going to be a menu of things that the council has that discretion on, and I believe that the mobile spay and neuter, and council took action last year, right, based on your, right, so there is support, and we also encourage you to come to those council meetings when we talk about the budget. So over these next May and June, a lot of budget discussions with council. So we encourage you to come to our meetings on Wednesday.
This is just, I guess, a clarity question for me, a learning question. You had mentioned decreasing the gap in the budget. One, why is it necessary to decrease the gap? And when you say the gap, what is the gap? Not the number, but what is it?
Sure. So really, it is required for the city to submit a balanced budget. So we cannot spend more than we have in revenue. We're not like the federal government. We cannot borrow to come up with additional funds. So it is required that our budget is balanced before we submit it to council. So when you talked about the gap, I mentioned a $9 million gap between the increases, actually more than $9 million, but a $9 million increase and $23 million increase in expenditures. What's happening is we've made those changes. So right now, what I'm submitting to council in the general fund is balanced. So I have reduced expenditures and found revenues. As I said, that was the preliminary numbers. There's additional revenues that help close the gap as well. So we have made the decisions at the Finance and Budget office to come up with a balanced budget. Obviously, council has discretion on all of these decision points, but we're presenting to them a balanced budget as of the first meeting. I think each department starts on the 4th, I believe, and then the 18th. And so all of those departments have submitted budgets that allow us to balance the general fund. And every other fund has to be balanced as well, not just the general fund. So, example, I showed the water department. Their revenue has to tie back to their expenditures. I'll just say this. This is off script. Maybe I shouldn't. Anyways, I will say this. So, for example, the sewer rates that are moving forward through council right now. What will happen is if those sewer rate increases are not approved, we will then have to reduce sewer wastewater expenditures to offset the lack of revenue that we were anticipating if they do not. So we have to make those decisions. I can't allow the sewer department to move forward with certain capital projects if the revenue isn't coming in to cover those. So it's not just a general fund. If there are revenue decisions that prevent us from having enough revenue to cover the operations, certain decisions have to be made on expenditures to balance that budget and balance that operation.
So just to make it clear, the numbers that you showed was the revenue that we're receiving from the various sources and the expenditures that the city currently has.
Well, let's just talk specifically about the wages number. That was the proposed wages for the current complement. So that is where the main reduction is coming off that number. So what you saw in that slide showing the increase this is the complement cost, this is the anticipated increase with the current complement. When we reduce, there's 70 positions that are being reduced. When we take those vacant positions off the books, it comes off that number and reduces that increase to actually very little increase at all. But those decisions have to be made and officially be made by council. Those vacant positions have to be approved by council before that reduction can actually be accounted for.
Okay. And so right now you've balanced the budget based upon those numbers.
Yes. Yes.
Great. I do want to, for those that are on YouTube Live or here in the audience, unless there's other questions, I'm seeing nods of no. We do want to have you take a picture of this QR code and start to work on these questionnaires that we've got, so that we get you to have a little bit of an interactive budget experience and tell us if you're the finance director, how do you spend money?
Actually, no. It's if you're the council, how do you?
Oh,
spend
if you're
money?
the council, okay, that's better.
I only
that's
take
better.
direction from
Actually,
council
there
and
you
city
go.
manager.
Thank you, Randy. This is why we're a tag team. You correct me. So, are we having? Oh, what's the code? Okay, we're having a bit of technical difficulty. Stand
That's
by.
why we have technical people in the
That's
back.
right, we do. Oh, here we go. There's your code. RJBC is our code. Does that help? Still not letting them in. Is anybody getting in? Maybe take a new snapshot of the.
I think the QR code did change when.
Oh, did it? Okay.
It might. I think.
Okay, we do have someone who's successfully in over here. Is that correct? Oh, okay. We have another person successfully. Oh, you won't be able to get past it until. Yeah. She's gonna advance it once we get full participation. So people are.
Let us all take it together.
Yes, we have people who are very fast, which is good, and then we have people who are we'll just say at their own pace.
More diligent.
Yes.
More diligent.
They're dutiful. That's a good, diligent and dutiful of making sure it's done. Okay.
So I don't have the first question, but I believe it's ranking between 4
That's right.
priorities.
1 through 4. What's your 1 through 4 priority? Okay, I think we are good. Here we go. And the results are public safety got a overwhelming first place vote. Is that right? Yes.
Yeah, followed by, I need better glasses apparently. Let me,
Is it a tie? Is it a tie? Community services and infrastructure? Would that be
yeah,
a
yeah.
tie?
It looks like community services took second.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then infrastructure third, and then affordable housing.
Yeah.
Winding up our 4th spot. Next question.
This is just giving your ranking on 3 areas: public safety, roads, infrastructure, and recreational services. Excellent, good, and poor.
The results are. So public
Looks
safety.
like we're in a good shape
Yeah.
for public safety, poor for roads. I think that's the one that gets the most attention there.
It looks like recreation is in a good
Good space.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good feedback. Next question.
Now this is, you get to be council and determine how to spend $100,000 between 4 areas. And I say this at every meeting, $100,000 doesn't get you very far. So let's just imagine it at about $100 million, and then that'd be more realistic.
There
So,
you go.
but just add a few zeros.
I know. And I've heard Mr. McKeegan say this before. You don't have to spend all your money here, right? You could leave some money on the table if you want.
I say it a lot.
You
and
do.
I don't know if anybody listens to me.
It's a constant message he's sharing with us. And the results are.
Public safety is taking 40%, and then second would be infrastructure maintenance. Pretty even split between community and housing.
Okay. Next question.
And this is a more open forum question. Just what are your priorities? What do you want council to really focus on? And just so you know, these results are going to be put in a report given to council. I'm not sure what day, but they will be receiving the feedback that these particular surveys are providing, both the ones at each one of these meetings, and I believe we'll also be setting something up online at some point in May, I believe. And all of that will be compiled and given to council.
Yeah.
So
right, the results. So this groups keywords. So mobile got a couple words. Spay got a word, and there was lots of one words there. All right, how satisfied are you with the City of Bakersfield current budget? 10 is very satisfied, and 1 not so much. Okay. I don't know, what is the mean or the average there, Randy?
I say C.
Okay, we got a C, somewhere in the
Yeah.
low
70%.
70s. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
And this is one more opportunity to try to spend money on your priorities. And again, as Gary mentioned, it says between 150 to 200,000. So this one specifically tells you you don't have to spend it all. Leave 50,000 available for future needs.
All right, I thought we had results. The results.
Looks like public safety has the highest percentage at 37% of the funds.
Yes. Infrastructure and road repairs are our next two, and then parks is the fourth bucket.
And I believe that's the last one. Yeah.
Any more?
So thank you all for participating in that. Before we close, are there any other questions, any other follow-up that you would like from what we presented, or the questions?
Well, we want to thank you for coming out. This was a different meeting, but we are glad that you are here, both online and also here in our council chambers. And we're glad that this is recorded so other people can watch it and learn from it. Hopefully, it was an educational experience for you, and we also got your feedback. We got kind of where you're coming from, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you very much.